if there's a woman who is still teetering on the fence, she hasn't necessarily made a decision to do any of the things. She wants to be a boss mom. She doesn't know how. What would be your number one piece of advice to her so that she can make her next step?
Number one piece of advice: believe in yourself. We are our biggest critics, and a lot of times we are our worst enemy when it comes to accomplishing anything that we want to. No one can stop you but you. So believe in yourself that you can, number one, set the goal. You may not have set it, so you can set the goal, work on steps to achieving it, because every little step towards that big goal matters.
Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play Podcast. I'm your host, Arylle Young, and today we have a really dope guest. She reminds me so much of just like corporate mom, corporate boss, like boss mom, all of the things, and you guys are really going to enjoy her story and all the things that she has to offer. So today, I'm really excited to have a conversation with you and bring all of the mom movement, all the boss energy.
Okay.
But would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So hello everyone, my name is Ashlei White. I am the CEO and founder of the Boss Mom Movement. I am also a corporate mom. I like to say serial entrepreneur. I have a travel agency and I manage a hair extension store known as Honey Hair Co. here in Atlanta, Georgia. So
she's what you would call a serial entrepreneur. Is that what you would call yourself?
Yes.
My goodness. Is this so? Of the three things that you're doing right now, are these the only businesses that you've tried before, or have you tried some in the past too?
I think these
are your
these are the only ones.
So we are capturing the beginning of the empire.
Yes.
You already know, like, and one thing I love about documentaries and successful people, they started, they experienced, they went through the whole journey, and then we're like, oh, now we're here. So the evolution of a boss is just, it's amazing. So I get to capture the beginnings, essentially.
Yes, the beginnings of Ashlei.
Yes. Ooh, that needs to be something creative. Facts. So we're on the podcast. We talk to folks who are in corporate America. They're transitioning not just out of corporate America into entrepreneurship, but trying to figure out, what do I need to do next?
Right.
And the biggest thing of like figuring out what's our purpose, what are we doing, even figuring out how do we balance our day to day. That's kind of where we are today. Now, what I love about your content is you're talking about like how to not be guilty as a mom, how to not put so much pressure on yourself as a mom in corporate. What has been your experience in corporate America, and what like inspired you to start the Boss Movement?
Yeah, so I entered corporate America right before the pandemic. I was actually in education. I worked in higher ed prior to at this university called Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. Did that for like 4.5 years before I actually transitioned out into corporate. And so I was hired. I was only working for about 10 months at the time. I was a campus recruiter for an engineering firm, and then I got laid off when the pandemic happened. And so going into the pandemic, maybe 7 months into the pandemic, I got pregnant. So when I entered back into corporate America the next year, I was pregnant, and I'm like, okay, my career is just really getting started in corporate. How am I going to manage being a mom full time? I was working from home as well. I like to call myself work from home, stay at home mom. And then be in this industry where I'm new, right? And trying to really figure out my way through corporate. And so it was just a new experience. It was a new journey for me on both ends of the spectrum. So that's actually where the Boss Mom Movement formed. Just because I was already feeling guilty, right? And my son wasn't even here yet. I'm like, okay, I know I want to do well in this area, because anything I do professionally, I always put my best foot forward. So I'm like, okay, I want to do well in my career. I want to grow and advance, but I want to be a bomb mom as well. And so it was kind of like a reminder to myself, like starting out with the Boss Mom is like, you can do this. You can juggle both and be great at both, because I think a lot of times as women, and you all know the data, women are having babies later because they are so focused on their career, which, you know, not to take away from anyone, because that's great, but why can't we do both?
That's a fact.
You know, and so as a millennial, on the other side of that, right, because we're hard-headed, you know, we do things at our own pace.
Norms,
you know, and so that was me kind of tying in the two. It's like, okay, you're a millennial, so you know, you got the attitude, you're going to find a way to make it work. And now I want to not only use my story, but other moms that are doing it, because I'm not the first mom that's working. Like, there are other women that are either working their own business and brand, or they're working in corporate or a 9-to-5, and they're excelling in those areas, and they're also great moms. And so I just wanted to highlight that. And I started the Boss Mom movement, and I'm soaring through corporate.
I love it. There's so many angles to touch, because first of all, you had your baby in the pandemic, which is already a transitional period, which a lot of people were just getting clear on who they are, making huge decisions in their lives. Absolutely. And a lot of people were leaving corporate America. When you started, when you were in this space, you were kind of like excelling in your corporate career. What did you see for yourself before you ended up deciding to have a baby? What did you see for yourself in terms of corporate success? Did you want to become a CEO of the next Fortune 500? What was your career aspiration?
So, I'll be honest, I didn't know exactly in corporate. When I was in education, I kind of had more of a plan, because I had already been doing that. I started as a graduate assistant and then worked my way up, and I was like, okay, I always wanted to be a leader. I'll say that. I always wanted to manage people. It didn't necessarily matter in what capacity I was doing it, but I knew whatever I wanted to be, director. Now, I will say, I didn't want to go that high up. It wasn't a passion. I'm like, okay, I don't need to be the president of the college, or, you know, transitioning into corporate. I don't need to be managing director, you know, what have you.
You just wanted a leadership role.
I just wanted a leadership role. I want to lead people. I went to school, my master's is in transformational leadership. Okay. So I knew I wanted to lead in whatever it was I was doing. So now, being in corporate, being on the team, I'm working in talent acquisition. I told my boss, actually, I'm like, I'm in a leadership position now. I don't manage people directly, but I'm more so sitting as a mentor to the team, and then managing projects, and I'm okay with that. It still gives me the flexibility to not have too much, just do enough that makes me happy, makes me good money, and I can still focus on my family. Gotcha. So I feel like, you know, there's maybe 1 or 2 levels above that I would go, you know, being a team lead or what have you, but I'm actually good where I am.
Yeah, it sounds like you also had that passion for family too.
I do.
So before you were thinking about climbing the corporate ladder, was there also an internal like desire to be the mom of the family as well? And so tell me about if we take it all the way back, before corporate was even a part of this story, who did Ashlei want to be?
Ashlei wanted, you know, that's crazy that you asked me, because my boyfriend always asked me, when we first started dating, he asked me what was my purpose. What do you want to do? I didn't have an answer. Internally, I knew I wanted to help people. That's something that my family's just very big on. My grandmother, before she passed, like, that's what she instilled in us, and my mom, and it just trickled down. So helping people, I went to school for psychology, so undergrad, and so I knew that was my calling. It's just like being passionate about other people and how I can help them through whatever it is that they're going through. And so when he would ask me, you know, what's my purpose? I'm like, I don't know. I want to help people. I just don't know how. And so that's who Ashlei was. When I was working in the education sector, I was college recruiting. So I'm helping students get into college, and my passion, I was not hired to be a diversity college recruiter, but I made it my job. Yes. So when I was recruiting inner city, I was recruiting in the outskirts of the Chicago area, I was like, okay, I'm going to the kids that look like me, or any minority, you know, ethnically, or the ones who can't afford it, you know, because it would mean something to me. It would make me show up to this job 100%.
Yes.
That I'm giving back and giving information that you maybe didn't have, you know. And so I knew just helping people in some way, shape, or form was who I was called to be. But I feel like now today I'm walking more in purpose than I ever have before.
That's amazing, because the fact that a lot of people don't even get a chance to discover that is a passion and be able to say, oh, I see light when I help other people get, not just exposing them to these, like, to recruit. It's not just to recruit them or just to help them understand. It's to give someone opportunities that typically Fortune 500s just simply weren't looking at. Like when it comes to diversity and inclusion, it's funny to hear like executives say like, how do we find diverse talent? Because you're like, it's a simple Google of black kids, you know, or black engineers or something like that.
Right.
But to have someone being able to like play in that space and find their passion, find their purpose, that's the best way to stumble upon it. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be like this, let me, you know, I'm in search for my purpose. For you, it sounds very much more organic. So you found your ability to help people and give them opportunities. But then when did you start to get like baby fever? When did you start to decide, oh, I want to be a mom?
So I always wanted to be a mom. Growing up, like, first of all, I had my life planned out. I watched Girlfriends a lot, you know, teenage years, college years, you know, I'm like,
Girlfriend, give me such really?
Planned out my life. I was supposed to have a family, be married, white picket fence at 27. I got pregnant at 27. I wasn't married. We're not married. We are together. But the life I envisioned for myself was not what I said it was going to be at that age. And that's okay. But I knew I always wanted to be family oriented and have I used to say 3 to 4 kids. Now I have a kid. I'm like, 1 to 2 is fine. But, you know, that was it. So I always knew I wanted to have children. It was just once I started working and seeing what I liked, because I'll be honest, when I graduated college, the plan I had for myself was to be a therapist. Graduated, no longer wanted to be a therapist. So now I felt like, okay, I just wasted the last 4 years of my life studying psychology because I don't want to be a therapist anymore.
That's interesting that you say that. The word wasted. But now when you think about it, how much of that degree do you use? I know you
every day.
Every day. For a lot of people who are in our shoes back, you know, in college even still, and they feel like education is a waste, right? They don't realize even as you are right now, diversity and inclusion, you're using information that you didn't even know you would have. That's the most it's unexpected thing about life, right? But people get so down and out about the time that they spent that they forget that it's going exactly where I'm going. And I'm sure that in your story we'll see all of these things unfold, but I just had to bring that out because
it's full circle now.
Boom.
I didn't understand it then, but it's full circle now. And that's the great thing about walking in purpose, because everything that you go through in life, at some point, I don't know when that point is going to be for everyone, but it will make sense. You know, and so when I think about it, I'm like, okay, God didn't take me through studying psychology to be a therapist.
Yes.
He took me through it to do something greater.
Come on. So now then what did you decide to do next?
So that's when I went into education. Well, I got my master's. I went straight through because I said, Lord, if I don't go now, I'm not going to go back. That's what I don't like school. Some people do. You know, I feel like we hear a lot of people say, I don't like school. Even though they may have X amount of degrees, because I have 2 degrees, but I knew I wanted to have my master's. And back then I was in education. And so in order to excel in that arena, you had to have a master's at least.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, go ahead and get this. But I got it in transformational leadership. So again, coming full circle, I knew I wanted to be a leader. Whatever industry I was in, I knew I wanted to be a leader, and I wanted to be able to help transform people. I actually fell into that program because I was in a counseling master's program. Again, that thought, you don't want to be a counselor, you don't want to be a therapist, why would you take this master's program? And looking back on it now, it wouldn't have been bad. But in that moment, I was just like, no, along with the fact that it was at my alma mater. I went to Bethune-Cookman University, HBCU. Shout out to the HBCUs.
Let's go.
But it was going to make me stay in Daytona for another 2 years.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be there anymore. So transitioning to the Transformational Leadership Program, which was still a part of Bethune, it was virtual, so I could be anywhere if I decided to pick up and move. But just looking back at it, it was an amazing program. Yeah. It just teaches you how to lead people and how to be a leader that people actually want to follow.
Come on.
So
what would you say is the core misconception or understanding that comes with you being able to be a leader that people want to follow? How do you do that? What's the number one tip for someone to do that?
For me, I would say being relatable. Because oftentimes leaders are seen up here, right? And then everybody else is just, you're underneath. You're like a stepping stone, you know? And it's not like that, because who would want to lead someone who would want to follow someone that just feels like they're just better than them?
Yeah.
You know? And for me, it's more so, I've been in your shoes. Let me show you, let me bring you up where I am and show you how I did it. Now, it may not work exactly like that for you, but it's to be transparent and empower other people.
Yes.
You know, I'm not the leader to say, I got here, now you need to figure out your way.
Yes.
I'm not like that.
Or I'm going to make it hard for you because it was hard for me too.
Right. And you need to learn, like, who am I to say that, you know? As opposed to saying, here are the steps, here are the tools and resources that you can use to your benefit. Yes. And so that was what I took anyways from the program, is just be a person.
Yeah. The way you talk about how are you going to bring people up, how are you going to show them the way, it makes sense that you would start the BAWSE movement in a time where you are having a baby and now you're like, okay, I went through all the feelings. I went through the basically being torn between being this powerhouse corporate person and being a family mom. And you're like, no. First of all, I have to get through mine. And then I want to help other people get through their stress and anxiety. So when you, and we have to talk about the fact that it's not just corporate. Yeah. It's not just hair extensions. It's travel agency, right? It's leader of a community. Yes. You do a lot of different things. So when you found out you were having a baby, what were some of the precautions or plans that you put in place so that you could either stay consistent in your career, or was it so that you can like move into motherhood? Like what were some of the plans and preparations you put in place?
Becoming a lot more organized than I used to be, for sure. I live by a calendar now, like to-do list. Support, not being too ashamed to ask for help, because I am the type of person where I feel like I could just do it all. I don't need anyone's help, or I don't want to ask you too many times for something. And so just being okay with that, kind of getting out of my own way. So definitely just being transparent in how I'm feeling, and being open. I'll be honest, at that time, I was going to walk away from being a travel agent. I had a conversation with my boyfriend, had a conversation with my mom about it. I was like, it's just too much. I'm not going to be able to focus on all of these things because it was just me. It's Ashley's adventures and I'm everything in it, you know? And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so my mom actually stepped in. She's like, well, we're not going to walk away from any extra income.
Yes, mama, come on.
So whatever you need me to do, I'll help, you know. And so I appreciated her for that, because I didn't really want to, because that was mine, you know. It was something that I created. I was an independent agent, but it was my business. And so I'm like, that is something that I started. That was like my first walk into entrepreneurship, alongside working. And it brought in a couple thousand a year extra, you know, for me. And I will say, you know, it's travel agents out there that are making 6 figures in it, and they give it their all. And I wasn't giving it my all. You know, it was just something to do. So it wasn't a lot of money, but it was still extra. And so now having help, building out a team. Now it's a family business, because my mom and my cousin are assisting now. And ultimately, I do want it to be a boutique agency where we have multiple agents,
Yes.
you know, customer service reps to help people. But that's what I foresee for that business, as long as I can build my team. But I think about it now, I'm like, girl, you were going to walk away from that.
Thank you, mama.
Yeah.
That's what we got to say. Thank
Yeah.
you, mom. Because it allows you to, one, stay a entrepreneur, keep your business, and Lord, thank you for the tax benefits of entrepreneurship, and then also stay consistent in your leadership role as a corporate professional. But it's also what lets you take a step back and be a mom to your family. So let's go into like, how do you define a boss mom?
So I like to say it's a lifestyle, for sure. But being a boss mom is ultimately you taking over the identity of being a mom and what works for you. A lot of times we like to say, you know, or we even get asked, you know, how do you balance, or where's the balance of being a working mom?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's no balance, because balance means everything is even at all times. I look at it as being structured. And so that's kind of like my walk into this, is being the structured mom, finding your structure. And it looks different for everyone because we work different jobs, we run different businesses. But it's ultimately staying true to who you are, because you were a person before you became a mom. And even if you lose who that person is, lose sight, find her.
Yeah.
Continue excelling in your goals, whether it's professional or personally, and succeeding in motherhood. And so that's what the Boss Mom movement stands for. And it was kind of a reminder for me, because I started the Boss Mom movement when I was pregnant. I started off podcasting, just learning from other moms and their stories, and really highlighting their stories to my audience, and showcasing you can do this too.
Yeah.
Even if you fell off, but go back and find yourself. What matters to you, you know, because ultimately you have to stay happy in order to even be a great mom, you know, like why no one wants their mom to be depressed or feeling like, you know, she's not living her life or taking care of herself. Because another thing I highlight is self-care.
Yes.
You're caring for other people. You're caring for, if you're married, you're caring for your husband, or if you have a life partner, you know, you're caring for them. Then you're caring for your kids. But are you caring for you?
Yes.
You know? So
when it comes to getting pregnant, I don't have any children, right? So getting pregnant and having to keep yourself, right? Stay true to your identity. There's already people without children, like myself, and people who are also single people who struggle with staying clear on who they are in general, right? So thinking about throwing a baby into the situation, I can only imagine it throws you off into like, okay, so who am I? You have to be a mom, an employee, a wife, or a girlfriend, and all of these, a sister, a friend, all of these things. And so it's easy to lose yourself. Absolutely. When you say find yourself, what are some of the things that young moms, like new moms, tend to struggle with when it comes to like, okay, finding structure? What's one of the first things that you can help a person find structure in when everything, relationships, responsibilities, everything kind of just seems everywhere?
Right.
And there's no real structure anywhere.
Right. So we have to prioritize. And it's funny because I'm actually doing on Instagram, it's 8 days of a structured mom. So just giving tips and strategies on how you can find structure. And today is actually day 3, and it's prioritize. Okay. And so yesterday it was your season. So putting those together, what season are you in of your life right now? Because that's going to help you prioritize. And prioritizing looks different every day, right? Because maybe if you're working your 9 to 5, maybe you have a project that needs to be submitted, right? It's a deadline. So that's your priority in that moment. The kids have a game, recital, what have you. 7 o'clock, that's my priority at 7. You know, so finding that structure and that time management, being intentional about your time. So that's why I say it's not a balance, because everything is not at the same level at the same time. I might be prioritizing different things at that moment. Even, you know, some people ask me, you're working from home, so your son, I don't have a babysitter. Like we are the parents, we are the babysitters, grandparents too from time to time, but he's there with me. I'm on camera, I'm in calls and meetings, and he's sitting there whether they know it or not.
Yeah. What? He doesn't come in the camera?
Oh yeah, he does that too. He does. You know, he's a part of the team. It's a joke now. It's like he needs his own headset and everything like that because he is there. But even when he's not in the camera, he's still there. You know, and so I do have to say sometimes, okay, mommy, and he's 1.5, so it's not like he really understands, but he understands. He has his iPad, he has his phone. You can FaceTime Mimi and Mama and Pop and be okay, right? While mom's prioritizing this right now because I have to get this done at work. But then I'm also taking breaks because he's my priority in that moment. Okay, he needs mommy, he needs this attention, and I need to step away from the desk, right? And it's so important, I tell moms too, if you are working a 9 to 5, it's important to be working for a 9 to 5 that understands you are a person.
Yes.
Not just a mom, you're a person, right? Because we work jobs without being moms or being parents rather, and we don't have that work-life balance because we're working for a job that just sees us as maybe a robot and they just want to work you down to the ground. I didn't understand that until I became a mom. You know, I was the one that's going over and beyond. Okay, I got to stay after 5. I need to do whatever, you know, to get it done. And now I appreciate motherhood for that, for showing me that you don't have to be that person. And if that's who they expect you to be, that's not the place for me. And so being a working mom now, I need to be working for a place that understands whether I'm a mom or not. I am still a human being. I need breaks, you know, and as long as I'm getting my work done, which I do, then you understand that, okay, if you need to walk away, I appreciate, and I'll tell this to my supervisor right now, you know, she's like, look, if y'all need to walk away, if you need to walk the dog, if you need to walk the neighborhood or what have you during the day, like, that's fine. If you need to get back, you know, take a couple hours off, get back on to finish later in the evening, that's fine. I can appreciate that because you realize
I'm a person.
I'm a person, and being at this computer all day is not good for me mentally.
At all.
You know?
The thing about it is a lot of people don't have good bosses. You get what I'm saying? Like a lot of people have to, when I think of boss mom, I think about stepping up in a way that is not necessarily normal. You might even have to tell, like one of the things that I used to do before I left corporate, I would put time on my calendar to block out like my me time. Right? And for me, it was my beginning stages of being an entrepreneur because I'm owning my time again. I don't care if my manager said we had a one-on-one, unless it was pre-scheduled, this is my time, right? I feel like being a boss mom gives me that energy. Like, I have to step up to my manager when they're not supportive, and I have to say things for myself because I am a mom. Is that the essence of what you teach your not even just what you teach, but how your community and your culture is in the boss movement?
Absolutely. And I got lucky, I'll say. You know, I actually, the job I'm working now, I interviewed for it on maternity leave. So before, I was a contract worker. I was trying to get on full time at that company because I liked it. And, you know, it was work from home. I'm like, okay, this is good. I've been here. At that point, I had been there for a year. I was a diversity talent acquisition leader there as well. And that was still in education. I was actually recruiting teachers. And leadership had changed. You know, the people weren't in place who were there when I got hired. But I was still working on becoming full-time. Again, I'm like, no one really likes to switch jobs. I mean, unless it comes with more money, but no one really likes to go through that process. You don't like looking for a job, number one, because that is a job. And so it's like, I don't want to do all of that again. I just did that a year ago. I didn't get full-time from that contract role. But I was preparing myself on maternity leave. I didn't know if they were going to give me the full-time role when I came back, but I wasn't going to wait around either. So I started interviewing. So my job now, they had no idea I was pregnant. I didn't have to go in for any interviews. So of course I'm just, you know, and
chest up.
And so they didn't know until after I got the job and I got on, it was like my first meeting. I'm on the team now, you know.
Which means they didn't ask you about it, sorry.
Right, you know, and not that it mattered.
Because they shouldn't.
But we know, right, as women, we think, okay, if they see that I'm pregnant, they're not going to want to hire me. They're going to think, okay, she's not going to be as available as we need her to be because she has responsibilities.
Right.
And so they hired me. Oh, you have a son. How old is he? And then they figured, oh, he's fresh, right? Yes, he's very fresh. He was like 2 months maybe at that time. Yeah, so
he hadn't even got control.
Right.
He's
no
in the
control,
camera like,
right. But mommy needed a job, and so it worked out though that they were like, that's fine, like, we want to see him. They're always looking for him on camera, and I appreciated that, and it made me feel okay being a working mom, because that was a fear for me, walking into it. And I look back and I'm like, I will say I found myself apologizing a lot. That's a part of the Boss Mom movement. What are you apologizing for? That you're a mom. But it's that mom guilt, or just working and you're like, oh, the kids are in the back. And now I make light of it. I make jokes when I'm doing interviews because he may be screaming, Excuse me, I'm working from home, and a lot of people, they understand, because a lot of the people that I'm interviewing are parents as well. Yes.
I think that's probably what I like about, I was looking at the Boss Mom movement, because one, you're a single mom. Do you feel like a single mom, even though you have a boyfriend?
I've had moments, I will say, and we've talked about it, because again, that's part of me not asking for help, just trying to do it all. And
come on,
and women and men, we're made up differently, right? Moms and dads, we have our lanes, what we're responsible for. And of course, when my son was a lot younger, I breastfed, so he was attached to me by the hip, and so it was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask for help with this because I know that I need to do it. Yeah. That's another thing too that I describe in the Boss Mom, is just like, we have this as women, as moms, no one can do it better than us.
Girl, as a women mom and then female or just entrepreneurs in general, like, I can't do it. Nobody can do it better than me.
Nobody can do it, and we have to get away from that. And that's another thing that I just teach, I guess you would say, as a boss mom. Is just like, you don't have to do everything. There are some things that we don't have to do, you know? And so whether it's you asking your partner, asking a friend, a family, colleague at work, because I'm also that person at work, like, you can't do it better than me, so I'm going to do it. But that's not reality. People can, and you should allow them to, because we don't want to be overwhelmed. We already have way too much on our plate to keep things on our plate that are minute, that other people can do.
I agree. Honestly, I think it's a boss move to ask for help. Yes. Because when you're struggling as an independent person, right? And like you said, you mentioned women and you mentioned moms. When you're struggling as a mom and you're not asking for, as a person, you're not asking for help, you're not your best self. You get what I'm saying? But and even, because trust me, you're preaching to the choir when it comes to asking for help. When you ask for help, you still have to challenge yourself to do that, because you have to ask in a certain way.
Be hands off too. Have you ever asked for help and still find yourself helping?
Listen. So the transformation that you're talking about, which we got to get into that, like, my mind is going in so many different directions because the transformational leadership is coming into play, but the transformation that it takes for a person, a woman, and then a mom, to go from independent woman, let's say, to from doing it all by myself to actually needing help because you can't do that alone, to asking for help and delegating and showing up. Like, those are the things that I'm really excited to see more boss moms do. Yeah. Because there's such a stigma that comes with, like, having a baby before you're married. Did you ever experience, like, or did you think about what people would think, or how you had to show up for yourself, or even like how you were going to be a mom to your parent because you didn't have that marriage title?
Yeah. Before I got pregnant, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Was it a worry, or was it just a thought?
My parents weren't married, so I, didn't grow up being in that household. So when I was younger, right, and I'm like, okay, that's how it's supposed to be. When I became an adult and realized that there are reasons why people don't get married, you know, but that doesn't mean that my parents didn't love me. They were both in my life. they were so together with how they were with me that my friends and my classmates didn't even know that they weren't married.
Wow, that's some co-parenting stuff.
Yeah. So because I was the priority, it didn't matter what they were going through together. And so once I understood that, when I got older, and started thinking about my own family, I was like, okay, you know, I would love to be married. I still want to be married, you know. But the reality is that we can do this and not be married. Yes. Because it's about the child.
And do it well.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is going to be fine regardless.
That's dope. So my mom is a single mom. So I think that, but she always, when I tell you always, she always pushed marriage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Beforehand. And when it comes to the way life is happening, and even the value that we put on marriage, it's like women do a lot of things on our own. Like, and so being able to like acknowledge that and be open to like what bossing up as a mom, and then also depending on another person to do your parenting, what all of that looks like. Yeah. It really requires some new age, you know what I mean, like coaching, mentorship. Because the way that our parents did it was the way that they did it, but
absolutely,
we are dealing with a whole new set of requirements, stigma, challenges, and to include again work, like working moms. So when you're helping your moms in the BAWSE movement, are they all working moms, or are they? Go ahead. There's only one thing that's stopping you from making consistent revenue on your podcast, and that's one, because you haven't decided that your podcast is a business, but two, you don't have an automated process that's going to get you consistent revenue on your podcast on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So if you know you want to get revenue on your podcast, but you haven't started making money yet, click the link below, learn about the Podcast Machine. It's a system that I created for my own podcast, and now I'm helping other clients do the exact same thing. So get into the Podcast Machine, get your podcast automated, and start making money on your podcast today. Now let's get back into the episode.
Majority, yes. I do see some stay-at-home moms, and most stay-at-home moms, though, they have like a business or brand, right? That they're working on. And even if they don't, I still feel that even though I'm geared towards working moms, what I'm saying can still apply. Because I like to say that I'm stay at home as well, because I am at home, and that's a job. Yeah. You know, to be at home and keep things running on a schedule, and, you know, taking care of things, making sure appointments are made and the house is not falling apart. Like, that's a job, you know? And so ultimately the boss mom is, like I said, it's just finding that structure. Yes. So that things flow. You're taken care of, you know, and you're not feeling guilty about wanting to be whoever you were before. Now, of course, that may look different, right? So whoever you were, if you was party animal or what have you, you know, not to say that you can't still be, ain't no judgment here, but you may do it differently, right? And I tell people too, or other moms, like, who you were, it doesn't mean you can't be that person. You just might have to make some adjustments. I was going out, you know, hanging out with my friends a lot more than I do now, and they understand, because in my friend group, I'm the only mom right now, and they're still doing things, regular scheduled program like we would do, and I had to take myself away from certain things. Of course, I have a child at home, so getting up and going the way I used to, it doesn't look the same, you know, because now I have to check with dad. I have to, does he have something going on, you know, like, what's the plan? And we take turns, like, okay, well, you go hang out, but before, Ashley, before the mom, it was no checking in. I mean, okay, hey, babe, what you doing? Oh, okay, have fun. I'm going here. It's not like that, this, right? And so there's the adjustment, but that doesn't mean I'm not still Ashley. You know,
that one right there seems like it might be a huge challenge for moms. Like you said, you went through two identity shifts. One being like, I'm doing this all by myself, but then also like, so being able to move around like a single woman, but then also shifting into like checking in. So motherhood, and then also checking in with another person is two different types of structure. I was thinking about you talking about like your calendar, like you live by your calendar and stuff like that.
I do.
How communication is a challenge for a lot of people.
Yes.
So how do you manage now that you're keeping people in the loop, you also said you work with your mom.
Yes. How
do you manage communication when it comes to what you're doing or planning ahead, all those things?
I write things down a lot. And I type things out a lot, on my phone. Anytime an idea, comes out, like I'm writing it down so I don't forget, because my brain is real. Ooh. I forget. I was already forgetful, I'll be honest. So now it's even worse. Like if I don't do it right then, I'm going to forget about it.
Okay.
Even, and I'll use it as an example, sending you the information for the parking pass.
Oh, right.
I had it in my brain that moment I was going to do it, and then looked over, my son's doing something, I totally forgot. And so that happens a lot. So I have to put things on the calendar or I'll forget. Or communicate. So sometimes even, I just recently got an assistant, and so I might text you something at midnight. Because a lot of times for me, I'm up late, once the baby is down and I can actually just breathe and think without any distractions. A lot of things come to me late at night. So you might get a late text from me.
But doesn't mean they have to respond.
It doesn't mean, and I tell them that's just me, because if I don't do this now, I may forget. Do you also struggle with,
so I struggle with telling people, I have like 5 conversations in my head, and I'm like, oh, I know I told you this, and by the time something happens,
I didn't.
So how do you manage even letting people know your whereabouts? Because you have to let mom know about what's going on in the travel business. You gotta let hubby know what's going on with the baby or what events you have going on, right? So do you have any suggestions for having those communication,
don't be afraid to repeat things. Because sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, and I do exactly what you just said. Oh, I told you this, because in my mind I said it, I just didn't say it to you. And so then sometimes I have that battle too with my mom or my boyfriend, no, I know I told you this, right? And they're like, you really didn't. So now for me, I'm like, okay, don't hesitate to repeat something. I don't care if I told you this 10 times, and I do that a lot even with my boyfriend, just being at home, because we're both forgetful, whether we would admit it or not, but we are. And so me telling him, even coming to this, I repeated it several times this week, so you don't forget, don't make any plans, because he'll be at home, what I mean? But just constant, it is important, and I fall short sometimes. I'll be honest and say that I'm not always thoroughly communicating the way that I should, but it is definitely an important piece, because there are other people in the planning process, right, that may not have been there before, and you have to check in and make sure that you're not putting too much on them, or even with my mom, I asked her to babysit this weekend, but her initial response was, oh, I think I have plans, and so I have to be okay with that, because he's not her child. And so even though it worked out, though, that she was able to, it was just having that communication and not being upset if someone tells you that they can't be there. I mean, outside of mom and dad, right, because he's our responsibility at the end of the day, but having those conversations, and me trying not to wait to the last minute to have certain conversations, even about business, communicating with my mom, because she's still new to the travel business, and so I'm also not only teaching her or training her how I run Ashley's Adventures, but then she's also still just going through training as an agent. And so just making sure that I'm thoroughly communicating with her about processes. Luckily, we have a lot of automated processes, but just showing her how that works and making sure that I'm thoroughly communicating how it works as well, so that there's no confusion, not only between me and her, but clients as well. So that communication piece is so strong.
It is so strong. Every time when I think about your life, I think about it in a web, and so I think about the different lines of communication that you would have to manage. One as a boss, and then as a mom. I think what's also dope, you have your mom working with you in your business. And you mentioned that your parents were single, but it never gave that perception. Now that you're defining what boss mom looks like for you, what are some of the things that mom brought instilled in you, and then some things that maybe you're not afraid of saying, I'm not taking that into my motherhood?
So I'll say instilled is her strength. My mom is very strong. She's always been the person that the family leans on. And I now feel like I'm that person, you know, at least I want to be. In certain capacities, I definitely feel like I am, but I feel like now it's my duty because I'm a piece of you, you know. Now I have to show up the way you did or even better, because we all, you know, our parents always want us to be better than them.
2.0.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to be that person, honestly, for her too, because I feel like you've been strong so long. You deserve it. She's retired right now anyway, early retirement, but I tell my boyfriend all the time, like, I want to build such a great life that you don't have to return to work if you don't want to, you know? And now she wants to go into entrepreneurship, and so we've been talking about different things, but it's like her strength is just something she instilled, and she was a working mom. She worked in corporate for over 25 years and was very good at it. And one thing I used to even think about when I was young, like just watching her, like just do her thing, because she's always been in leadership too, from as far as I can remember. Yeah. And I'm just like, how are you doing it? But then you're so present in my life as well. Wow. But I do understand that once I got older, there were sacrifices she made because her company, you know, wanted her to move to Texas and, you know, take on different leadership roles, and she decided not to because of me. And so me now working and understanding that, it's like, okay, there are sacrifices that are going to have to be made. But I'm doing all I can do now while he's young. Yeah. So that when those moments come and he understands and he's doing all these great things, because I'm going to be pushing him to be like I was in everything, you know, I want to be there. So I work hard now, and that's what even like my boyfriend told me, he said, you're a hard worker, you know, you're always working. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm trying to build the life now. We're still young, you know, like, and we want to have more kids, and so, or at least one more, so it's like put things in place now. But not only did I learn things, you know, from my mom, but my dad too. Like, he actually works in diversity. So that's where I get that piece from. Oh, how long have you been in diversity? So he's older than my mom. And so it's been over 20 years, we'll say. And, and they both were in HR. You know, like he helped her get into that space and really build in that space too. So I learned from him. I learned from both of them on the professional side, but I talk a lot with him just about how that looks even for me, because he teaches classes, he speaks, and these are things that I'm putting into the Boss Mom. So he's like my mentor in that aspect, and having the confidence to really dominate a room, because so when he teaches these classes, he gets feedback from the students, and the feedback that they give him is just over the top amazing, you know. And so I'm looking at him like, I need to be like you, like show me how to do that. And so both of them instilling different things in me when it comes to me being the makeup, being the mom, and being the parent, because I'm a daddy's girl. So, you know, just the love, even so I'm a female, right? I have a son. So the same love that I have with my father, it's my son too, because you know, gender, you know, we're different. Like the boys stick to the mom, you know, and the dad. Love. Yeah, and so, and my dad for me, you know, was in the male form. And so just learning how to give that same love to my kid that was given to me, you know. And so I like to look at it as both of them. But my mom, as far as like that boss mom piece, like she was it. Yeah,
and especially since she was in leadership in corporate. Now, how does the boss mom differ from the way you were raised? Does it at all take a deviation?
I don't think so. Yeah. I really think she, for me, just was like the epitome of what the boss mom is. It's like you still love your kid unapologetically. You're always going to show up for them, but you showing up in the professional space as well. Yeah. You know, and so even though she wasn't an entrepreneur then, she's like her sister was, and so just helping, it was a family business, and doing that, like she still had that piece, and now she's doing it. She's retired, she has, you know, more time. I'm grown, you know, with my own kids, so it's like she's back to doing something that's going to make her happy. But it's like you're literally the epitome of what a boss mom is, essentially, you know, is still being present in both areas in your way.
When it comes to the sacrifices, how do you communicate those sacrifices? Because it's easy to look back and for someone to say, like, I don't want to give up the opportunity to go to Texas. I want to have both. I want to have it all. Yeah. When you communicate those sacrifices, or because I remember you mentioned sacrifices. How do you communicate those desires or those dreams, or how do you help your boss moms realize their vision, given the fact that your life is going to be different as a mom, even if you had these huge audacious corporate goals?
Right. It goes back to, I said this a little earlier, your season. So I think, and I'm just thinking back to my situation and my mom's. I don't know exactly when the move to Texas was brought about, but I know I was in grade school, maybe middle school. So I was established, kind of, sort of, and she didn't want to take me out of that element. And so that was the season of life that we were in as a family. And I think as a mom, you know, you have to think about that. Like, what season are you in? And for me, even now, I feel like I'm in grind mode season. My baby is young. He doesn't understand stuff yet, you know, but when he does get to an age where we can sit down and have these conversations and I can say, okay, mommy's doing this so you can have your PlayStation. You know what I mean? Things that matter to him, or so that you can go and play the sports or whatever it is, so he can understand mommy is not present in certain moments because she doesn't want to be. It's because she's doing something for you, you know, and also some things for me too, because if it makes mommy happy, that's what I'm gonna, you know, tell him. It's like, mommy has to be happy so she can be a good mommy, you know. And just letting my child or children by that time understand, yes, mommy's mommy, but she's her own person as well too. And just understanding the season that you're in. So certain sacrifices you may have to make in that moment. It doesn't mean that you can't revisit at a later time. But I think you just have to realize, you know, what season of your life are you in, is your family in. It may not be appropriate to make that move at that time, you know, or maybe it will. I see moms all the time, you know, say they're the husband and wife or partner, whatever season you're in with that, with your relationship, you know, have those conversations where, okay, you may not need to be an entrepreneur right now because we're trying to build our home and we need to have the income, certain income or whatever. Like, you're having that conversation because that's the season of life that you all are in. You know, you may have to say, oh, don't table going back to school right now. It's not to say never, but even right now in my life, my boyfriend's going back now to get his master's, and we had a conversation because we both have that entrepreneurial spirit. And he went to school to get his barber license, so now he has a trade, and I'm like, you know what, build that business, focus on school. He wants to be a therapist. I support you in that. That's the season of life that we're in. Like, I'll do the 9-to-5 thing, you know, and I like it, so it doesn't hurt. And you do that. Sacrifices, you know what I mean? But it's having open communication. Number one, if you have a partner. If you're a single mom, have the conversation with yourself. You know, if you don't make that move right now, do you feel like ultimately that's a decision you're going to regret, or a decision that's going to make you unhappy? Do you need to talk? Is your child old enough for you to have the conversation as to why you need to make this move right now? You know what I mean? And so it really just, like I said, it's that season. Just figuring out where you are in life. Weighing out the pros and cons. Okay, if I do make this move, what is that going to do for me? What is it going to do for my child or my children? You know, are they going to hate me for the rest of my life? You know, things like that. And my child is young, so I don't know what that feels like exactly to have a child be upset about something, especially
you made a
moving,
decision
right?
with when they were younger.
You know. But those are just all the things that you have to take into consideration when it comes to making those certain sacrifices.
Absolutely. I think about the stress that come with those decisions, you know, to make a decision for the child versus your career, right? And, you know, who knows how I would handle those type of situations, but I think that the fact that you guys are creating community around those conversations, it'll absolutely come up.
Yeah.
Because a millennial woman who has a child today would probably make a different decision than your mom. Yeah. And figure out something else, you know, like we have this mentality who's like have it all.
Yeah, we do.
And the way that will, when we're 70, 60, because like you said, not only have you not seen your baby grow up to see the implications of your decision, we just haven't lived that long to be able to say, like, what does this mindset turn into when we're 70, right?
Right.
So having community around that is the best thing that we can do, because we're all supporting each other as we move along. Like, nobody knows what the right decision is, but if you decide I want to be a boss mom, then we are all kind of supporting each other. I'm only imagining, hey, I want to move to Texas, and what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And then having that community be able to say, listen, girl, I did it last year.
And this is how it went. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it exactly like this, but exactly what you said, building that community and that trust. I can say something and not be judged, you know, for how I'm feeling. You need that.
Yeah.
You know, and to know that you're not alone, regardless if you're a single mom, if you're a married mom, or, you know, in a relationship. We go through these feelings that only other moms can understand who've experienced it or walking that same walk in life at that very moment.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's one of the things, even the Boss Mom movement, it is a community. Like, when I thought of even the name, I put movement because it's a journey for us to walk together.
Yeah.
You know, I started it, and I went back and forth when I started it because I was still pregnant. I'm like, am I even a mom yet? He's not here. You know, like, are people gonna look at me crazy? Like, girl, you're not even a mom. You haven't went through anything yet. But I decided that I wanted to go through the journey with my audience together. So you're gonna get me while I'm pregnant. You're gonna get me as soon as I have them, and how that worked out for me. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I got the job, you know, like I said it before, I started a new job when I had my son. I came in at a level 2. There were 3 levels to the role. I didn't know. I was hired on as a lead, so in my mind I'm like, oh, I'm a lead, you know, that title, you know, in corporate we look at titles and money. And so I'm like, okay, I'm a lead. I feel like I'm going up the ladder, I'm taking steps. I get in the job, and it was a very small team at first. We've grown so much over the last year, but I learned that there was a 3rd level. It was a principal level. And I just kept thinking to myself, well, why didn't they consider me for that role? I feel like I have the qualifications to do it, but clearly they didn't see it in me. That confidence piece, which is also something that I instill in my community, is having confidence in yourself as a woman, as a mom. And I went to my boss. She was new at the time. A couple months in, I'm like, I want to be in this principal seat. What do I need to do? What do I need to show? Because I feel like with my previous experience, I can do this. I feel like I know I can do this. We had a conversation, and she also saw that in me as well. So it's so great to have support in the workplace as well. And we built out a plan. It was a 6-month plan. It was some things that I had already checked off, but then there were things that she was like, you just have to demonstrate this. So, you know, we're going to put this on here. You need to work on it. And I'm going to put you in certain places so that you can have the opportunity to demonstrate these things. And so 6 months later, I was promoted.
Come on.
I had only been in the job. It wasn't even a year yet. I just hit my year mark in September. I was promoted in the summer, officially. But I worked hard, and I was still working hard as a mom. You know, like I said, my son, he was born in July. He just turned 1, you know, a few months ago. And so while I was going through those steps to get this promotion, that was another piece to the Boss Mom to showcase. If you put your mind to it, if you have confidence in yourself, that you have the ability to excel in whatever it is. And that's why I like to put, your goals professionally and personally, because your goals may not be my goals, it's something else. But if you have the confidence that you can accomplish, you will. And I'm just a piece of the puzzle showing you that you can.
Absolutely.
You know, and just putting those strategies in place, like finding that support, not being afraid to ask for help. Because yes, there were long days, long nights. I had projects. I've managed different things in my job. So there were times where I had to say, okay, hey, babe, I'm working on this. Can you do X, Y, and Z around the house? Hey, mom. Hey, dad. Hey, to my boyfriend's mom and my cousin who lives with us. Like, it's a village.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes.
I need this because I'm trying to establish myself in my role. Can you help me? That support is so real, because without them, I wouldn't have been able to do it. You know?
And it goes back to asking for help. Man. Can you imagine the women who are just struggling? They're taking care of their children by themselves, but they don't, and they want to get a promotion, but they won't ask for help from their mom. They won't ask for their boyfriend. They won't. And you know what? Maybe you can touch on this. I think we all as humans, we have to get better at dealing with our emotions, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's kind of like what hinders some people from being a boss mom, right? Going from mom to boss mom. Do you find that, or do you see any mental shifts or emotional shifts that people have to do to have any of that support? I'll give you an example. Sometimes I talk to moms who are our age, and they have so much disdain for their husband or boyfriend or baby daddy. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They have so much disdain for the person that they can't bring themselves to ask for a little bit of support. Do you find that emotional pattern shows up in any of the other areas of the ladies you work with?
Yeah. You have to swallow that pride. I've had to swallow it too, because I'm like, I couldn't bring myself physically to even say, I need you for anything. Because I like to think of myself, excuse my language, as badass. I can do it. I don't need you, but in reality, I do. You know, if you want it, because see, it like you said, emotional intelligence. If you want it that bad, you will. But you have to want it that bad. You also have to believe in yourself that, okay, I'm asking you for this help because I want to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm afraid that when I actually get this help, I'm not going to achieve whatever it is on this side that I'm trying to. And so that's the confidence piece, right? That's the core belief. And so I'm actually bringing coaching into the Boss Mom movement to instill that. It's a mindset. And half the time it's like I'm not gonna ask for help because I don't really want to do this. I'm scared of this. I'm scared that there may actually be achievement on the other side if I actually get this help and get the time to focus on it. You know?
I never thought about that. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is like a mom who kind of uses, you know how when you grow up and you tell not people, but you've seen this mom saying like, I didn't become X, Y, and Z because I had you. But really and truly, they were afraid that if I finally do ask for help and I have the availability, I still might fail. That's a whole different rendition on just the way our self-doubt, our limiting beliefs, and how it shows up when we become moms, and how, like, something to even watch out for.
Yeah.
Because who even really, when you have limiting beliefs, you don't even know that that's what I'm telling myself.
It's unconscious.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it's even things that I'm just learning too, you know, just going through the process. That's why I like to say I am not above any mom. You know, I'm walking this with you because whatever I learn and go through, I'm going to share. And it's an unconscious thought, because even think about before becoming a mom, we talk ourselves out of a lot of things. I was that person. You're not going to achieve in this, so it's really just a dream, right? It's not a goal because you're not working towards it. It's just something you thought of that you might be good at, that could maybe, you know, blossom one day, but you don't 100% believe in yourself, or you are scared to fail. And I don't even like, and that was me before. Today, I don't even like to use the word failure, because what are you failing at? If you take that risk and take that opportunity. If it doesn't work out the way that you envisioned it to, maybe it wasn't supposed to. Maybe that was just a lesson. You were supposed to go through those steps to build you up for what was really gonna come to you, you know? And so, and a lot of times, the fear of failure is not for self, it's for other people.
What do you mean?
So if I say, I don't want to start, and I'm going to use Boss Mom as an example. I don't want to start the Boss Mom because it's not going to it's not going to give me what I thought. It's not going to blossom the way I think. I don't want to start it. I'm scared it's going to fail, but I'm really scared of people seeing it fail. I've put it out here for people to see, and it didn't go as planned. Now I'm not doing it anymore. I'm embarrassed. That's for other people. That's not for you. You know, what did you learn along the way?
Come on.
That it failed, you know, like in the midst of failure, it didn't go as planned, because we have all these plans, right? Steve Harvey said, I went to the Earn Your Leisure conference, and he was amazing. But, you know, he's just like, we think about things so far into the future that we stop ourselves from even starting. Just start.
Yes.
And that's what I tell my moms all the time. Like, the Boss Mom started as a podcast. I didn't have a plan. What it is today, I didn't have that plan when I started it. But I could have talked myself out, because I'm one of those people, I need to see it from A to Z. I need to see the end, right? And so I'm like, I couldn't see it, but I didn't want to not start it because I couldn't see what the end goal was. You're not going to see it until you're there. And then that's not even the end, right? Unless you decide to stop. That's not even the end. It's just, it's going to continue. You never know what it's going to blossom into until it actually unfolds.
Yes.
You know, and so I just think, like, failure it's a mindset, because we fear a lot. Fearing the unknown. And when you start a business, like, I'm pretty sure when you started your podcast, you had no idea probably what it was going to blossom into, for real.
Right.
You know, you had a plan on what you wanted it to, but I'm pretty sure things have happened in place where you would, like, whoa.
Never would have expected it.
You know?
I always say, no, I never thought I would be where I am today, but it's even better than where I thought I was going to be.
Exactly.
If I could have said where I was going to be, it was nothing like this.
Exactly. If I would have, because I'll be honest, I didn't want to do corporate America. My parents did it, and I was like, no, it's too strict for me. I'm too social. I like to do all of this and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't want to do it. And here I am doing it, you know? But if I would have stopped myself, because initially I didn't think I could even get into it. I'm like, I have an education background, you know? How am I going to twist this to even make corporate America see me in it? Because as a recruiter and just being in this space, when you're going through the interview process, you have to make them see you in the role, right? Like, that's what the interview is really telling these people, because you've never done this job for them. You may have done it before, but now they have to see you in their company, on their team. They don't know you from a can of paint, you know, and so you have to make them believe. If I would have never taken that risk to jump out of education, I wouldn't even be here. There probably wouldn't even be a Boss Mom movement, honestly speaking.
I think it's amazing how you've made so many transformations over your journey, from education to corporate, from single to mom, from corporate to entrepreneur. Like, you've done all these different shifts, and you're touching on something that really kind of gets me going, which is that career advice, which, as a corporate professional, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand what's inside of you so that you can sell it to someone. But people don't realize we're always selling. You're kind of speaking to this part of you, and as a recruiter, where you're helping people understand, like, listen, this is what we need you to do or to explain before you get into this seat, which kind of speaks to getting to the money. You know what I mean? Like, our confidence in our money is tied to, our money is tied to our confidence and our belief in seeing ourselves in that role, preaching to someone who's going to buy a product from us, someone who's going to be a customer from us. So now that you're kind of speaking into this like career and business space, let's talk about the money.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the money, because a boss mom can't be a boss mom without a little, at least financial literacy, right?
Yeah.
So where are the values as it relates to getting money in the boss membership, in the boss mom community?
I'm all about it. Okay, and I'm going to speak is from a professional standpoint. So I work in diversity and inclusion. So I am specifically recruiting not only people that look like me, black and brown people, women of color, women, and I'm going to just speak on the women part for now, because men have no problem doing this. We don't like to put our money where our mouth is, right? We don't speak about ourselves enough and confidently. Like me going to my boss, they didn't come to me to get promoted. I went to them because I know that role comes with more money, number one, but it also came with the seat that I wanted to sit in. But we don't negotiate these salaries.
Speak on it.
And why? Do you not believe in yourself that you can do just as well or better than the man that you're sitting next to? You know, we're too afraid of someone telling us no. If you don't ask, it's a no automatically anyway. You know, I have tried to negotiate and I have been told no. I have put my foot in my mouth and I have lowballed myself previously because I didn't know. When I left education, I left at $35,000 a year. I had a master's. So for me at that time, I had a number. I said, you know what? It's just going to take this number for me to just leave and not look back and be okay. And so I put that number in my mind. So when I was interviewing at the time, I gave them the number right on the dot. I tried to come back and negotiate afterwards, and they were like, no, you know, this is the number, this is what we budgeted for. At that time I said, okay, that's fine, because it was like $15,000 or almost $20,000 more than where I left. So I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I learned from that mistake.
Because you gave your number ahead.
I gave exact. When I really should have been going above.
Right, because they'll give you what you want, especially if it's below what they were already going to give you, what they had budget for.
Exactly. And I gave them the exact number. So now I tell my, they're not clients, but I tell my candidates that are going through the process, especially my women, like, because I'm just the first stop. I don't make any decision on how much money you get. But don't be afraid to ask for what you want and what you're worth.
Yes.
Because you're either going to get it or you're not, or you're going to get in between. And so I tell them, like, ask for more. And I have no problem saying it's like, ask for more. And so they'll determine, you know, of course, they're always going to come back and say, okay, this is what we can offer. And then you decide if you're going to take it or leave it.
Yes.
But if you're not asking, then it's automatically you're going to get what they give you.
And the worst feeling is when you take a job that you know that you lowballed yourself, so it affects your performance. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you don't even want to show up for the company because they don't see your worth.
Exactly.
But you're the one who accepted it and you didn't negotiate.
You didn't.
And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy once again, because now you just disgruntled.
Yeah.
You don't want to show up for the company anymore.
Exactly. Or now you're there, you've only been there for a few months and you're looking again.
Yes.
You know, and trying to get that redo. And it's just like, just do it that time. And me saying this, right, is not me saying, okay, girl, if you say it, you gonna get it. It's not, but it's just showing that you believe in yourself, right? And so I tell them that all the time. I'll even talk about your resume, your interview, right? So the resume is what gets you through the door, what is on paper, right? Because that's all they know. But then when you get in that interview, how are you talking about yourself? Yeah. Are you talking confidently, or is it kind of just like, yeah, well, I think I can do this and this? No, show up and speak. Sit up like you know what you're talking about, because they don't know. You could be saying all type of things on there, and they don't know because they just listening to what you're saying.
Exactly.
But how confident are you saying it to where someone believes it?
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
I had to, and I'll use an example. I was back when I was recruiting in education, I had a young lady. She was coming through the process, and for her, she was doing a transfer. She was transitioning her career, so coming into a field that she wasn't already in, but she had transferable skills. And for what that job was looking for, there was a piece that she was missing on her resume that she had actually done before, but she didn't think that it was applicable to the job because it was in a different industry. And I was like, absolutely not.
Yes.
Put it on there.
Yes.
She got that job. And I said, when you go into this room now, you need to talk to these people like you know what you're talking about, because you do.
Yes.
And she was African American, young. And she not only got that job, she got some other offers as well. That she ended up not taking ours because she got more money. She was in California, so you know, like you got to be talking the money.
Yes.
But she got the offer. Mm-hmm. She also tried to come back and negotiate after she had already given them a number, and they were like, "No, you know, this is so. Do it the first time." Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying that from experience because I've learned. I gave them $50,000. Yes, that's what I'll take. That's what's going to get me out of this job, and that's exactly what they
said.
Gave
"Oh,
me.
Sure, thank you." Yeah, that's so interesting. You not only help people get to the money in their careers, but you're getting to the money in your career. And before we get out of here, we have to touch on your travel agency side. Like you literally are running 3 different lives. Being a mom is a whole life. Being a corporate professional is a whole life, and a lot of people are trying to do corporate and entrepreneurship. You're doing all 3. So you started the travel agency before you had your baby?
Yeah, I've been doing it for like 4 years.
And by the way, what's your baby's name?
Riley.
Riley. I always say like baby, the kids, but then I'm like, wait a minute, they humans too.
Right. Yes, Riley. I started. It's definitely like 4 years ago. And I just did it as a hobby, honestly. I like to travel, so why not get a discount, you know, doing it. So I was actually, I'll be honest and say that I took it up to get the benefits, just as a traveler. And then I'm like, you know what? Okay, because I wasn't really like a planner, so I was like, I don't know if I want to do that piece, but it's actually fun. I like it a lot better when they return and say how much fun they had. But yeah, I mean, I started it, and now I really wanted to be an agency where I'm not even doing planning anymore. Like that's the other agents are. I just want to run it.
But the fact that you did it because you enjoy it and you travel, it's kind of like once you put all the investment in now, you don't have to necessarily do anything. You'll be able to take your hands off because job well done, right? So when it comes to structuring your life as a boss mom, what does structure look like for a person who has a business, a job, and a baby?
Chaotic.
You can't say that. That's not fair.
I know. It's still a lot going on. Number one, it's a lot going on in my mind at all times. You know, like you ever see or watch those movies like where the scientist is writing all the formulas and everything. Like that's my mind all the time. Yeah. Until I'm asleep. But again, every day is not the same. I will say that. Me figuring out, so waking up, and I'm trying to get back to this because I've gotten comfortable since I do work from home, and I'm like, I could sleep in. But getting back to a schedule of waking up at least by 7 a.m. so I can have my mornings to myself, get my thoughts, meditate, pray, whatever it is that I want to do, I can do it before I need to start working and before the baby wakes up, even before my boyfriend wakes up, like just me time. So that's a piece of it, finding that structure and getting in bed at a decent hour.
That one right there. It's like parenting yourself.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, he's asleep. I got to do all this. I got to, you know, and learning to say, shut it down. It'll be there tomorrow. I mean, if the house ain't burning down, if it is not urgent, right, shut it down. And like I said before, I'm the type of person, like even in my 9-to-5 job, I was always, I can stay after 5. And even staying after 5 at home is much harder. It's much harder to walk away because you're already at home. When I was working in the office, child, please, staying after 5, I'm running out the door at 4:59.
Yes.
Like, you know, because I've been there all day and I'm ready to get home. But now that I'm working from home, I'm already there.
Yeah.
You know, going to the kitchen 2 feet away, I could do that at 7.
Yep.
So it became harder for me to actually walk away. And so that's even another thing for me. And a lot of us are working from home now, just, you know, with COVID and everything. Learning to shut it down, whether you're in your 9 to 5, your business, right? Let's talk about entrepreneurship. A lot of us are small business owners, and so we want to have that personable touch with our customers and our clients. So we feel like we have to respond late at night or at all type. No. I have business hours.
Yes.
You know, if you don't contact me between 10 and 6 for the travel agency, you may not get a response. Now, I'm not saying now sometimes, right, if it's something that I need to do the job, maybe I'm working on your itinerary and it's something I need, I may contact you, but my main hours, 10 to 6.
Yeah.
With the hair store, like we're small business too, but one thing that I'm just trying to grow into with our Atlanta location is we're open from this time to this time. Because see, when you allow people to reach you after hours anytime they want, now you got to stick to that, right?
Yeah.
Because they expect it.
You created a precedence.
And though I'm small business, I'm still a person. I still have a life outside of this.
Yes.
And I don't need to overwhelm myself. So just thinking as a mom who's structured, like after 5, that's my kids' time, that's my family's time, that's time for me to just disconnect from that until the next day or whenever I'm returning. You know, maybe I got vacation or something. And being on vacation when I'm on vacation.
Ooh, speak on it.
I'm not available for you, you know, and being okay with saying that, because a lot of times we feel guilty for even trying to disconnect ourselves like that. But you have to, or you'll end up running yourself down into the ground.
Yeah.
Even with motherhood. Now, I'm not saying there's an on and off switch, but there's an on and off switch.
What do you mean?
If the house isn't burning down, he's good, he's fed, he's changed, he's clothed, he has what he needs, right? Not what he wants, what he needs. Mommy needs to I need an hour. Turn it off, mommy. I don't want to hear mommy, right? Well, mama, right? But it's like, I need that time.
Yeah.
To myself. Or if you're married, right, you have a partner, we need that time. And that is so important if you plan to, you know, have a lasting relationship. Is that, yes, it's about the child is, you know, priority, but so is your relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want to lose that, because now we're all about the baby. We're not about each other anymore. So again, it's just become like when you're structured, your work and your family, like prioritizing.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out those certain times that you're going to do certain things so that everything can stay afloat, so that you can have that quote unquote balance.
100%. So when it comes to the boss movement, the boss mom movement, first you have the podcast, so people can listen to you and hear you and others talk about their journey. What are some of the other things that people can get from just being a part of the boss mom movement?
Yeah, so of course you can listen to the podcast. It's on YouTube, it's on all podcast platforms, but also now events. So I have an annual Boss Mom Summit. The first one was earlier this year. It was virtual. So next year, March 12th, I do have a date now.
That's good.
It will be in person here in Atlanta. And so you can come. It'll be guest panel, keynote speaker. There will also be a mental health aspect to it this year. It's so important for us moms. We don't recognize it as much, you know, postpartum. And that postpartum is not just after having the baby. Some moms go through it a year after and still. So really just focusing on the mental aspect of being a mom. And then also just events. I have a mommy mixer in partnership with another mom. Her name is Paisley, and she's the founder of Mommies with Motivation. We actually came together to do a mommy mixer, which is a reoccurring time for moms to just come be who you are, right? Yes, we're moms. We recognize that. But be who you are. Come have a good time without your kids. You know, network. We allow vendors to come. Let's shop and just ultimately enjoy each other's company and help build that community, right? Meeting other moms. We invite you to come by yourself. So that's something that I do. And then there will be other like webinars I want to start getting into that you can just come and learn during that allotted time. Additionally, coaching. Yes. You can get out of the boss mom. So I have started my coaching business I've started my coaching business, and I just want to be able to sit with moms and figure out, what are you struggling with? You know, with your structure. Is it that you're struggling with finding a certain routine? Are you struggling with a positive mindset? Are you struggling with goal setting? Struggling with confidence? Those are the focal points that we have for the coaching business that I want to help you walk through.
That's I wanted to ask you that specifically. So I'm glad you touched on that, because those are going to be the things that people are like, okay, how do I come to you, and what do I get from the BAWSE movement? So the fact that you're talking about goal setting and reshaping whatever those goals actually mean as a boss mom, those are the things that people need. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So when it comes to your coaching, for the Boss Mom Summit, like all these things, and even travel agency, like, you have the kit caboodle. Yeah. People can, and if it's like, if you prescribe as a coach, if you're like, hey, you need a trip, let's go over here. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I think that you'll be able to be like a one-stop shop. So being able to help moms envision where they want to go, be structured in their lives, be more of a mom, be more of a career woman, however they see it. Right. I think that's a resource that we all need. For those who don't have babies yet, since you started Boss Moms when you were pregnant, and for moms who've been moms for a while. Yeah. And I like to, grasp moms during the pregnancy phase too. Grasp moms? Is that what you call them? Grasp. Grasp. Okay, I was like, yeah, like grasp their attention in the pregnancy stages, right? Because a lot of times you're scared. You're going through pregnancy. You don't know what to expect. Maybe you're already in your career. You're in your business, and you're like, okay, I'm about to enter motherhood. Especially for the first time moms, you're unknown to this territory. Just like I was. I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. So, if you are pregnant, the Boss Mom movement is still a place for you, because you can get that community, ask those questions that you may be wondering and you have no idea where to start. It's like we got the playbook for you, girl, already. We can tell you what worked for us, what didn't work, and then you take that and use that however you need to. Yeah. So a lot of times moms think, well, I'm just pregnant, but I get followers that come, they're pregnant, and they just get so excited about the content, because I do share content on my Instagram, just my everyday life, and so you can see yourself in this, like how it's going to work for you. So I don't ever want a woman, and to be honest, the Boss Mom movement, you don't even have to be a mom, because at the end of the day, yes, we're moms, we're also women though. Yeah. And so if, in our career fields, like, I can tell you what it's like being in corporate or being in this recruiting space that I'm in that has nothing to do with being a mom, honestly speaking, or before I became a mom, I dreamed about being a mom. One day you will be. So it's about growing into that motherhood. That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Even if they're not a mom, you have experience from recruiting people just in their careers in general. Right. So I can understand how whatever they come to you is absolutely valuable. So they get personal development, they get career development, they get hopefully some money development as well. Listen. Yeah, I gotta bring experts in for that, because I'm still learning in that aspect too, and scaling your business, because a lot of my businesses, they're not, the travel agency, it doesn't make that much money. I'm still trying to learn from other agents, like, what are you doing that I can incorporate to make, the business really turn and be profitable? Even with the Boss Mom movement, like, I went back and forth honestly about either being a nonprofit or being for profit, and it is for profit. But I had to think about, because it's a passion, right? It's just talking and connecting with other women. That's not profitable, monetary wise. I mean, it might be profitable and information wise, but money. Okay, what can I do to really scale the business and bring in money, so that when I'm opening these bank accounts or I'm going to try to get these loans, and they're asking me, okay, well, how much money is your business bringing in? I can't say nothing, I mean, I can as a startup, right? But I need a plan. How am I going to get the money? And so it comes through having the events. It comes through having the coaching, the paid coaching or paid membership, for the business to actually look like a business, to the bank. Yeah. Would you ever consider, so as you mentioned, growing the revenue in the travel agency, would you ever consider leaving corporate America so that you can do full time? Really? I would. Like I said before, I enjoy what I do.
And I feel like I haven't reached the full potential just yet, but also I want my businesses to be thriving financially because I make good money won't be afraid to say it, I make good money in corporate. So my corporate job is help fund my businesses. So I'm not ready to let it go. But once I figure out a side hustle that will be my main hustle, I will absolutely walk away.
I got you. I had to ask.
Yeah.
You know, we always have conversations on the podcast, like with folks who have already left corporate, and folks who are thinking about leaving. And you're doing both. You're juggling both, and you teach people how to do the juggle, right? How to stay structured. But it's also like life is so like unpredictable, right?
Right.
But if you ever wanted to leave, I had to ask in terms of, do you see yourself being a full-time single bar? Not single bar.
I'm not retiring from corporate. I'm not. I don't have the walk away, the exit plan just yet. But it's definitely in the future. Like I said, I'm selfish. I like to travel. Like I said, I like to do things and I like to live a nice life. So I don't, excuse me, I don't want to jump off the porch until I'm ready financially.
I can see you with a corner office. Like, you really give me corner office vibes.
You know.
Yes. You give me, come walk into my office.
My boss told me, she's like, yeah, we got to get you ready for your next promotion. Like, you know, so, and I appreciate that, you know, because I think that says a lot too, just from a professional standpoint. And I did used to have that goal of being corner office. I'm running things. I'm HBIC, right? Head boss in charge. But now that I'm doing my own thing, I don't know that God has that for me still. You know,
and the cool thing about it is you can set your vision to whatever, and like you said, seasons, right?
Right.
So if someone is interested in getting into the Boss Mom movement, they want to talk to you, they want to get to know you, they want to grow with you. What are some ways that people can get connected with you, and how can they find you?
Yes, so you can find me on social media, Instagram at the Boss Mom Movement, and that's Boss BAWSE. So that's how I wanted to kind of stand out with that. But you can find me there. I'm on TikTok, same handle. I'm not as active, I'll be honest. I feel like an old lady with TikTok. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I am on there. Now for YouTube, it's the Boss Mom Movement Podcast.
Okay.
So you can find me there, and my website is www.thebossmommovement.com. So yeah, you can find me there.
All of that will be in the description below. And as a matter of fact, we actually had a conversation before this podcast to just see if we could actually give the listeners some things to work with you at a discount. Honestly, if you want to work with Ashlei and you're like, listen, this chick sounds cool. I want to learn how to do corporate and entrepreneurship too. This is somebody who I think can coach me and even follow her journey. Then there will be a link in the bio, the description below, for you to be able to get, how much did we say?
I'll do 10% for whatever is travel or Boss Mom Movement, 10% off. So we'll use Work and Play.
Yeah, we'll use the code Work and Play.
Code.
And even for potential products and services that she offers. So just watch out, because as this coach Ashlei evolves, you'll be able to patronize her, you'll be able to work with her and grow just like she did as well in her career. So I want you guys to click the link in the bio if this is something that's interesting to you. Take the chance to be who you want to be. And don't sit on it, all right? So without further ado, listen, you already know where to click the link. I would say one thing before we get out of here.
Okay.
If there's a woman who is still teetering on the fence, she hasn't necessarily made a decision to do any of the things. She wants to be a boss mom, she doesn't know how. What would be your number one piece of advice to her so that she can make her next step?
Number one piece of advice: believe in yourself. We are our biggest critics, and a lot of times we are our worst enemy when it comes to accomplishing anything that we want to. No one can stop you but you. So believe in yourself that you can, number one, set the goal. You may not have set it, so you can set the goal. Work on steps to achieving it, because every little step towards that big goal matters. We have to celebrate every win, you know? And so really just believe in yourself that you can be the best mom you want to be, and whatever that looks like for you, Has nothing to do with what anyone else says you should be. Believe in what you have going on, honestly.
There you have it. Y'all go out and be great. Do anything you can to connect with Miss Ashlei White. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.